Hello everyone, welcome to the channel, a new video. I'm very excited about this one. This has been a long time coming. A lot of you have been requesting this, okay? And this is going to be a general introductory guide to the Bookmap platform. As you know, Bookmap is a market depth or heat map platform. There's many other platforms and softwares you can use for this. Even in like Sierra Chart, you can program your own basic heat map, but I would say that Bookmap by default is definitely the most well-known and the best platform when it comes to this type of trading. So in this video, I'm going to go over an overview of all the different options that are on the platform, what each element is, and just a general overview of what Bookmap is, how it works, and how to use it, okay? In the future, I'll work on some more videos related to this. And I also have a very big announcement because I'm going to be adding an entire new section of heat map trading into my day trading with volume profile and order flow course. I'm already working on that. I've done several chapters. It's going to be coming out in the next few weeks. Anyone that's already signed up is going to get access to this all new section as well. And I'll be announcing when that comes out, but that's going to be really great because I'm not just going to talk about Bookmap, but I'm going to link everything together, heat map trading with all the other techniques that I discuss in the course, volume profiles, delta indicators, footprint charts, all in one cohesive strategy with a lot of confluences, okay? And that's why I have been using Bookmap recently, because I found that it is a great additional tool in the order flow arsenal. Okay, so without further ado, let's dive in. So I've got here, this is the very first window that is going to come up when you're going to open Bookmap, and I'm going to go over the few options that you have to select here. Also, if you notice below, if you want to get 20% off the first month of Bookmap, if you want to try it out, you can go ahead and use code PABT, and that is going to give you a 20% book discount on your first month. I personally, just FYI, I use the global plan. You need a global or a global plus in order to be able to trade futures and use live data. Global Plus is going to have all the bells and whistles, all the extra indicators and custom add-ons that they have. For me, just the global is enough for what I need and all the things that I'm going to show you in this video. Okay, so when you first open Bookmap, you're going to be getting this window. You basically have three options to select. There is the simulation mode, which this is the one that I always use because I don't trade through Bookmap. I trade through Sierra Charts. So I only use Bookmap as a reference on the side of the screen. So simulation mode allows you to send orders via the internal Bookmap simulator while viewing real-time data. So basically you can also demo trade on simulation mode if you want it. Next one is trading mode. Trading mode allows you to send orders via your broker or exchange while looking at live data, or even some prop firms that work with it. You can use the trading mode to trade prop firms. And then the replay mode. This is an amazing function of Bookmap, and we're going to go back into replay mode towards the end of the video. This is one of the most valuable resources of Bookmap because it's gonna allow you to go back to any session that you have recorded, and you can play back everything second to second, and is gonna be great for back testing and just for refining your techniques, your strategies, etc. Okay, but for this, let's just select simulation mode. Okay, Load previous open workspace. I always have this by default. I only use Bookmap to look at the ES market. And then record live data. I'm not going to put this on now because we're on the extended trading hours at night. So not a lot of volumes, but whenever you want to record the session or what you're doing, you're going to click this, and I'm going to show you later how we're going to use this in order to use the replayed mode, okay? But let's just select simulation mode, press OK, and now this is preparing to start. It's going to start loading, and it's going to take us into the main screen. Once we are inside, okay, you can see this is the ES chart. If you want to add any markets, you're going to click the plus sign here, and then you can go into the list. For example, if you want to add, NASDAQ, we can go down to the letter N, and then just put NQU5. This is the September contract. Subscribe, and then you can see it's just going to start loading. And you're going to get the NASDAQ chart here, okay? But for this, I'm just going to focus on the ES. And I'm going to talk about this in a little bit. You can see I have two charts. One of them says Bookmap data, and the other one says TM Lite. This is one of the add-ons that I'm going to talk about a little bit later, okay? So there's four main elements in the Bookmap main screen. We have the center section where we're going to have the heat map. We're going to have the bubbles, the time slices, the line that's going to divide the current price versus historical, etc. Okay? Then after that, we're going to have on the top, this is going to be all our menus and our toolbars up here. On the bottom, we're going to have the subchart and the widgets right there. And then on the right side, we're just going to have different data, the current order book, the DOM, the session volume profile, the price scale. Okay, so let's go slowly talking about the different elements. Let's first start talking just about the chart in general that we are looking in here. Okay, so the Bookmap platform, what it basically shows us is a historical representation of the liquidity in the market. Now, everything looks very dark, but you can see up here, this widget right here, you can control how dark or light the elements are going to look. You can also make it into just a gray scale. Also just a scale going from black into blues, whites, yellows, and then blacks all the way into reds. This is the one that I like, and I always have this set at maximum to get the maximum amount of resolution. Now, after that, over here, this is where you can control the contrast between the black and the colors. If I bring it all the way to the left, you can see I'm going to get a lot more blue. By standard, I think this comes like around the middle, but I like to have it all the way to the right because this is only going to highlight the maximum levels of liquidity. Now remember, this is going to be dependent on what time of day you're trading. If you look at the current order book, we are in the Asia session, so the volumes are very low. We got, on average, like between 30 and 50 contracts per tick level. But if you open this during New York regular market hours, you're going to probably have, in the hundreds, over 100 on a lot of the levels, okay? So, as we talked about, this white line is dividing basically the current price we're in, which is this one right here on this highlighted square. It's either red or green depending if it's hitting the bid or the ask, and then everything to the left of this line is historical liquidity or market depth data, okay? This is what makes heat map trading unique in the sense that, let me put this so it recenters automatically right there, okay? What is unique about a heat map is normally if you have a DOM open when you're trading or analyzing, you're gonna have this. And as you know, the DOM, this is the resting limit orders, but there's people adding and subtracting constantly from these levels. Again, since we're at extended hours, there's not a lot of activity going on now very quickly here, but we can see that these orders are changing. There's pulling, they're stacking at the different levels, okay? But the problem is we don't know how these orders have changed unless we remember, oh, this used to have, I don't know, 50, now it's 44, etc. With a heat map, we have a whole historical representation here of the liquidity at the different levels. And we know from the scale that the black is the least amount of liquidity. Then we're going into the blues, white, yellow, orange, and red is the highest liquidity. So if we look at this, you can see we have a red highlight here. That's 68 contracts sitting on the book. This is by far the highest level. There's 61 here, 68 here, and you can see that is represented by the darkest orange and red colors in this. This scale is completely interactive. So if I zoom in or out, the colors are going to start shifting. Like you can see here, if I'm here, this level is red because this is the maximum liquidity right now. If I zoom out, suddenly we have a level here that popped up that has 79 contracts. So now this became orange and this is the red now because this represents now the maximum liquidity level. And again, if you want more resolution on this, you can go ahead in the contrast and turn this up or down if you want to have a little bit more, show a little bit more contrast on the levels. This is especially useful during regular market hours, okay? So if I zoom back in, we're going back in there, okay? So let's start off by clearing out this chart and then we can start adding all the different elements so you can understand better what you have. You can go to this option here, configure visible components, and let me just take everything off. Okay, so we're gonna have a clean chart and you can see we do have these vertical lines that are splitting. Okay, there's no time frames on Bookmap. You can just choose, if you click on this clock, you can choose different periods to split the chart in. So if I put 15 minutes, that means from this current line to the back, we have 15 minutes of action, okay? And you can see every 2 minutes, we're getting a vertical line. If you change that to a different time, let's say I want to see half an hour, then now you can see the lines represent 5 minutes, etc. Okay, so let's start adding in the elements. So the first one, if we go into best bid and ask, this is basically representing the best bid and ask at every level. Now, if you're trading a very high volume, dense market like ES, you're probably always going to have just a one tick spread between the bid and the ask. But if you're trading a market that's a lot less liquid, this might be a wider spread between the bid and the ask, and also you can get some slippage if you try to get in on a market order, etc. Okay, following that, break-even point, I don't really use. Buy-sell orders, this is if you're going to do trading. It's just going to show you where you execute it. Last price is basically going to be where every price level executed at every moment, okay? So the best bid and ask shows the spread, and the last price shows where the execution was at every moment at every price level. In general, I like to have the last price on, okay? Then volume bars are going to represent the volume down here at the bottom. And with Bookmap, you can go on everything and right click, and you can configure everything with a right click as well. You can see if I right click here, is going to bring up a bunch of different shortcuts. If I go and I right click on the volume, I can go into the volume bar settings. I can change how thick they are, etc. I can make it into a delta or a total volume. I can make it a gradient or solid, etc. Okay. Next, we have the heat map. So the heat map is what's going to show us the historical liquidity of the market. If we want, you can even add candlestick bars, okay? When you add candlestick bars, if I zoom out, you can see that now this is showing, in this case, this is going to be 1 minute candlesticks. So you're going to have here, this is 8:30, 8:31, 32, 33, 34. Then this was 8:35, etc. Again, the candlesticks look tiny now because we are in a pretty slow extended hours session. But in general, I never use candlesticks here because for me, the true beauty of this is going to be the volume dots, okay? The volume dots are going to represent executions, okay? Just like if you're looking at like a delta, for example, on Sierra chart that I always show my volume profile delta or my footprint delta. Delta represents executed market orders or aggressive buy orders minus executed aggressive sell orders, okay? So basically, all the liquidity that we have resting at every price level on the heat map, the dots are going to represent the executed volume trades on it. If you have red dots, that means that is a red delta, more aggressive selling, green dot, green delta, more aggressive buying, okay? And also the size of the dots are going to be proportional to the size of the executions. And if you go up here, you can actually change the size of the volume dots with this panel here. You can see you can make them really big or really small. Now, the nice thing with this is also that the volume and the dots is aggregated depending how zoomed in you are, okay? So like, let's say, you know, we see this big red bubble here that almost tested this large limit buy liquidity at this red level. But you want to look for more detail what happened there. First, you can go up here and select this data tool. So if you click on this data tooltip, you can see if you drag it on the chart, is going to show you all the different information. So here you can see if I drag it on the different liquidity levels, is going to show me historically how many contracts were sitting, in this case at the bid, on the different colors. If I highlight it on the bubble, is going to tell me, okay, we executed 22 contracts here at 63, 40, 50, and how many were at the bid, etc. And if I zoom in, let me take this off. If I zoom in on this bubble, you can see that now that bubble starts breaking out into smaller bubbles, and then we can see exactly what happened at this level. So here, if I bring the data tooltip, you can see we had 57 on the bid here, then 58. We executed 8 at 40.75, 7 at 40.50. And if I start zooming out, you can see that now all these bubbles here, if I zoom out, are going to start fusing into a larger bubble, okay? So it's almost like if you're like grabbing like water droplets, if you zoom in, you're going to see all the individual order droplets and executions. If you zoom out, they're going to start fusing together and consolidating, okay? And I'm gonna show you later on the volume dot settings how you can adjust different ways to cluster the bubbles, okay? So that's the basics of the main chart window, okay? And again, going back here to the time slices, if I put 5 minutes, this is showing me now just 5 minutes of action. If I drag this back, it's always going to show me 5 minutes, okay? If I go and put 30, this is now showing me 30. If you get this means that if you click this, it's going to take you to the present. So I click that and now I'm back into the front right there, okay? So that is the main window. Let's start talking about all the elements around. So let's talk about the menus. You have the file menu, connections. You can see I'm on Bookmap data. Settings. You can go into color settings, change how you want everything to look, different configurations. You can configure all the add-ons that you can add into the program, etc. Help as well. The Bookmap website has a lot of content in there. Let's go into the menus. Zoom by drag. This basically, if you click on this, let's say I want to look at this 10-minute window, I'll just mark off 10 minutes, let go, and now this zoomed in right on those 10 minutes from 8:35 all the way to the present, okay? Let me just go back out. So that is zoom by drag. This option creates a screenshot. This studies configuration. This is the basic studies that come with Bookmap, okay? So we already talked about volume bars, dots, imbalances is one of the options that it has. Order book imbalance, large trade alert if you want to get notifications, large lot tracker. These are things that I don't really use as much, but you can just check the settings that I have. Cumulative volume delta, it's the subgraph on the bottom. Okay, you can see I can turn it on and off here by using this option. And again, this is all coming from the studies configuration. So down there, you can see the cumulative delta. It tells me we're at minus 186 right now here. This is the scale. So we are overall negative for the session. And remember, cumulative volume delta is just aggregating the delta at every second, every moment, and just running a total of what the overall aggressiveness of sellers and buyers is at any moment, okay? And then we have candlesticks again that we can add. You can customize them here, how wide or small you want it. Let's say I want 5-minute candlesticks. I'll just go into the interval, put 5 minutes, and now you can see if I go here and I take off the volume dots and the last price, now we have basically a 5-minute chart showing us the liquidity and the 5-minute charts on this, okay? So again, this is if you want to use the candlesticks. Let me just take them off right here. And let's add on the volume dots right there. I'll just take, let's leave the last price on. And we have the volume dots there, okay? Next option, configure add-ons. This add-ons, this is more specialty indicators. I'm not going to go through this. You can go, and there's a lot of content on this on the Bookmap side. Most of these are, you know, like I said, with the Global Plus, they're add-on indicators that you need to pay to get. You can have the footprint charts, large trail alerts, etc. Like if I put footprint, I do have this on here right now, so you can see like the footprint charts, you know, and I can customize them like footprint, histogram. I can just put like that, or histogram delta, histogram bid and ask, footprint type. Here you have the bid by ask. You can put horizontal delta, etc. Okay, I'm not really going to go in this. I mean, for me, footprint, I use it on Sierra chart. I don't think footprint is really something I want to use on this, but I wanted to touch on this Trader Map Lite. This is a thing that I definitely recommend you install and use. I have it at the standard filtering. The reason for this is because, as you know, there's a lot of algorithmic robot trading. And so with the liquidity, if you're looking at a regular chart, you can have some data that is going to look sort of confusing because of the algos and the bots adding and subtracting liquidity, etc. So if you go with the TM Lite, it's going to filter out that and is going to give you a better representation of the liquidity and the heat map. Okay, there's a paid version of this with more options, but for me, the free light version, the Trader Map Lite, is more than enough. Okay, so this is something that I definitely recommend that you use. After this, you have synchronized charts. Then we already talked about this. This is going to control the contrast of the blacks. And then this is going to control the size of the bubbles. So remember, the bigger this is, the more clustering will happen. And the smaller, the more just individual orders is going to show. I always just have it halfway. That's a good balance. Drawing tools, you can use different things, you know, like I can select a rectangle and I can draw a rectangle there. I can enter edit mode and change it. I can change the, you know, the line width, the thickness. I can change the color, etc. Okay, so it does have a lot of different drawings. You can add text, etc. Next option we have is the event list. So here, basically, you just mark a section and you're going to get a whole list of all the executions and things that happened at that level. Next, the data tooltip. So again, this is just going to show you the information on pretty much anything, all the liquidity and the dots and things that you point at on the chart. Next, we have crosshair. So this is useful if you want to see specifically a time or a price. This is going to show you that consistently. Next, we have the time slices that I showed you. Okay. Next, we're going to have the visible components. And again, this is the way I have mine set up. But the default is going to be like this, except I just like to take off bet, bid, and ask and put last price. Other than that, I have the, well, buy, sell orders I don't need because I don't trade here. But heat map, last price, volume bars, volume dots, I always have on. Okay? And then showed high trade control panel. So this is if you're going to be trading, etc. is going to show it here. And finally, this is again just the brightness of the levels and if you want grayscale, etc. Okay, so that is the whole top menu. Here you get some information of how skewed the order book and volume is on the buy versus the sell side. Now let's talk about the right side components, okay? So this, you're going to have always the price scale right here. And then remember, this is the current price that is transacted. So whenever you see this last price line, it's always going to coincide with the price where we are getting the executions. These columns are all customizable, okay? You can see you can right click and drag it and change the order. Or if I right click, I can put insert column, and now I have another one. If I right click on it, I can change this. Okay, I want to see volume. So here is the current volume profile. This volume profile, if you choose chart range accumulated, it's basically showing me a profile of whatever I have on the screen. So if you see, if I move this down, it's basically going to start extending and changing this to whatever is showing on the screen. You can see here we only have a few levels here. If I zoom out, is going to start growing, etc. Okay, the session volume profile, session accumulated volume, is going to show me the basically the volume profile since the opening of the session. This one, when you don't want it, you can just click hide and it's going to go away. You can also open time and sales, and you can set, filters, etc. So this is going to show all the executions that are hitting the book. You can put a trading DOM. You can put the quotes for the delta, quotes counter. You can put the trades counter, etc. Okay? So I'm just going to take this off. In general, I just have the current order book, which is going to be the DOM, or depth of market. So everything in red above where price is going to be resting limit orders. So passive sellers. Everything below in green, passive buyers. So that means limit orders, okay? And again, this is directly related to the heat map levels. So as you can see, if I zoom out and there's 79 up here, now we have the deep red levels here. There's 63 here, so we have another deep red level. But if I zoom in, the chart is going to be dynamically changing to whatever liquidity is right now represented on the screen. Okay? And right here on the bottom, you can hide the widget and the subgraph. You can go into this gear settings and you can turn this on and off. There's also a few other options and different ways that you can represent this. In general, I don't really use this cumulative delta because I always have TradingView, Sierra chart open, and I always have my cumulative volume delta underneath my tick charts. So I don't really use the cumulative volume delta on Bookmap, but it's definitely something that you can use. Okay, so now let's just talk briefly about the bubbles and the settings for that. So again, you can go into studies configuration and you can access the settings here, or you can also just right click on the bubbles and it's going to bring up the option for the settings. So like here, I can just right click on anything and you can see you can change the colors, etc. Visible components. This is basically the same option as here, but I'm going to go into volume.settings. And under the volume dots, there's some options. Let me zoom in so we can see them very well and you can see the changes that are happening. So we can put 2D bubbles, but this is going to look ugly. This is sort of how it looks, for example, on Sierra chart if I put the large trade indicator. But if you put 3D bubbles, it looks really nice. This is one of the unique things with Bookmap. Then you can have either volume delta, which is going to make, again, red bubbles for more aggressive selling, green for more buying. Or if you put total volume, you can see it's going to split the bubbles into how much buying or selling was executed at each level. I mean, within the bubble, okay? In general, I like to use just volume delta because it's easier just to see where we had aggressive buying and selling taking place. The size, this is the same as the slider here. You can just change how big or small they are. Transparency, they can be completely solid or almost completely see-through. I like to have them pretty darkly solid. Okay. Then clustering. Okay. There's different types of clustering. You can do it by time, where you select after how many seconds you're going to want to have a bubble setting. You can do it by volume. So you put, okay, every 50 contracts, I want one bubble represented. And again, this is all aggregated, so it's going to vary. If you zoom in or out, it is going to then just give you more detail, okay? But again, the bubble is going to represent 50 contracts by volume, by price, etc. I always use SMART, and the SMART is going to make a combination of time and volume, okay? If you go all the way to the left, it's pretty much going to show you almost every execution, even if it's just one contract. And if you go all the way to the right, you're almost not going to get anything, because it's basically just telling you that you want the absolute maximum volume. In general, I like to have this somewhere around like 25%. Okay, I think that is a good balance. Okay, and that is how I like to have my settings for the bubbles. Let's go into the time slice, zoom out. Okay, and now just to finish off, how can we see, or what's the advantage of looking at the liquidity? Well, you can see, like, for example, over here, we just had a level where we had big liquidity coming. The market came, almost tested this level. It went away, and then you can see right here, it came in and the liquidity was not pulled. You can see, if we zoom in, you can see the details of how the market came in here. And if we grab the data tooltip, you can see here we had volume 7, we had 64 resting here, then we executed 14 here, and now it went down to 58. We kept retesting this level, and look how the liquidity was starting to get consumed. Every time we came in and tested this level, the bids or the limit orders to buy were getting slowly filled and filled until we were right here at this level, and we came completely and it consumed all the resting liquidity here, and we pushed off. Now, there's still obviously liquidity here, but we would need to increase the contrast, and you can see right there, okay? But since I have it at the highest level, then it's going to go away. But basically, you can see how price is approaching, and we can see how it starts dipping and testing these areas of liquidity. And you know that markets tend to want to migrate or seek areas of high liquidity. So that's why when we're trading, If market comes and you can see this area of high buying liquidity here, if we start pushing up, immediately we're focusing right around the 50s, because this is where the next heavy resting liquidity is in the market. So that will be a good area. Obviously, this is a confluence tool. I don't just trade purely based on the Bookmap. I'm going to be looking at my candlestick charts, at my footprint, my higher time frames, etc. But this is just one part of the puzzle that we can use in order to trade with better information and make better decisions by looking at what the intention is of the large market participants. Okay? And now, to finish off, let's just talk about the replay mode quickly. Okay, so for replay mode, we're just going to select replay mode here, click OK, and it says Bookmap is preparing to start. One thing to note on replay mode, that the light chart type with the filtering for the algo liquidity is not available. Okay, so you're just going to see the regular Bookmap data chart over here. So you can see right here now, it's automatically started playing the last session I recorded. Or no, not that. It starts playing the last session that I opened. In this case, it was a recording from July 9th, 8:51 a.m. Eastern. And then on top here, you have this time bar, okay? And I can just grab this and I can click and go to any moment in time. So let's say I want to go right at the open. I just go to 9:29, 30, and right there we just had the market open. Okay, so that was the open of the market. Let's put 15 minutes here. On the scales, I can right click and you have different options. I always like to recenter at last price, and if you go to settings, you can also change some of the options here, but in general I like to just have it automatically centered on the last price. Okay, and now with the replay, if you go into open data file, this is going to open this feeds folder that you're going to have inside of your Bookmap installation. So right here you can see this is all files of recordings. I don't have, some of them I've erased. I haven't accumulated that many. I'm starting to build a whole library of this that I'm going to use also to make more content for the course add-on, etc. But you can see here, it gives you the date, the month, and the day that you recorded. And pretty much any of this, let's say I want to go, okay, I want to go back to July 16th. I just click this, open, and now it's going to start loading. And you can see this is a day that I was trading in the afternoon. So this is, right now, this is 1:45, okay? And with this, the same thing. You can go back through the whole recording and see all the historical liquidity and the heat map at every level. You can study, you know, how price behaved at every moment, etc. Like for example, here you can see, oh, okay, right here at 1:27 and 52 seconds, we came in and tested this big liquidity here on the bid. So you can zoom in and see, okay, we had 131 on the bid. We came and had an aggressive sell for 91, hit this level. Then we came back, dipped below, and then we went back in here. Then market started pushing up, and again, you can change the contrast to see more detail if you want, etc. Okay, so the replay mode is an excellent tool to go back, analyze your trades, study, backtest, etc. It is one of the great tools with Bookmap. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Hope this video has been useful. Again, remember code PABT20 and you'll get 20% off your first month if you want to test out this platform. Thank you all for tuning in. Hope you're having a great week, and I'll be talking to you again soon. Take care.